So today I will be reviewing Scientology and the Aftermath Season 2, Episode 8. So I'm the type of person that I have the ability to feel other people's pain. I've been like this since I was a little girl. Like, I'm very, very intuitive of other people's feelings. I don't know what it is. I just grew up that way. So I've known Mimi Faust, not personally, but from her reality TV show for years. I've watched her all the time. She was one of my favorites on her show. So you know when you see people on television every day, they say television stars, you feel like you know them. You know, Hollywood movie people, you feel like, you know, they're on another level. Well, I really felt a connection to Mimi because I liked her. I've seen her for years. I know her whole storyline, everything. And she's on a reality TV show, but she never covered her true reality, which was the story of her mother. I had no idea her mother was a Scientologist and that she went through what she went through. So let's talk about it. So she said her mother, well, very, very pretty lady. Looks like Mimi to me, if you ask me. Her mother met a boyfriend that introduced her to Scientology. Now, she was the kind of person that was always searching for religion, something outside of themselves. You know the type. They want to be inspired. They want to believe in something. I mean, there's one on every block. And but usually, and where people make their mistakes, some people turn to religions, other turns to drugs, but a lot of times people search for something outside of themselves to make them feel better. It's a common mistake that not only Mimi's mother made, I would say millions of people make. For some reason, people think if I'm rich enough, I'll be happy. If I'm thin enough, I'll be happy. Name any kind of material thing. They think if they had it enough, it'll make them happy. So she was this way before Scientology. But when she found Scientology, she went over the edge. There's no other way to say it. She went over the edge. Scientology, each person's story is equally as important. It's just, Scientology ruins lives. So Mimi's older brother and sister, her sister went to go live with someone else. His brother went to college, I think she said. And she was the youngest, so she had to go with her mother. So at first they went to the place in Clearwater, Florida. They stayed there 8 months, and then they made their way out to California, and she called it the Big Blue. I think that's what she called it, the Big Blue. This is where they went and stayed. It's that big blue building that we see over and over again. Every time I talk about Scientology or watch a documentary, they show this building. Well, Mimi lived in the building and it looks grand. It's huge. She said it used to be a hospital. That shows you how big it is. She said, but it was not upscale. She said there were bugs. It was just not an upscale place. And she went there with her mother, and of course, her mother got caught in the grips of Scientology. And what they do, no different from Mimi, is they divide families. Okay? They want total and complete control over you. It's so weird. I cannot believe that this is happening in this day and age. You know, if it wasn't for this docu-series, I would really think this is something that happened a long time ago, or, you know, things aren't like that now. I cannot believe that this is still going on today in this day and age. So Mimi had to deal with a lot there. She didn't only have to deal with being separated from her mother, having these people control her lives. She said that she was separated. She still had to deal with racism. This is crazy. And being bombarded with this religion that she wanted no parts of. This was really, really thrown on her. That's why I feel the biggest victim of Scientology is the children. The children. I mean, if a grown person has that choice, if you want to throw your life away and let someone else control you, I guess you have that right. But the children, it's just so heartbreaking to hear. So, to make a long story short, Mimi never really got into this religion. And she's seen the things that it was doing to her mother. And she just didn't want any parts of it. She didn't want any parts of it. And she was going through the motions. You have to do what you have to do, because she's a young child at this age. But she said at the age of 13, oh, I can't even tell the story without crying. It's so bad. They put this contract in front of her and told her to sign it. She didn't want to sign it. Now, I really, really believe the contracts that they make you sign is all about control. It's about reminding you who's in charge. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. They get you to buy into this dream. And if they think, oh, okay, you're wavering a little bit, here, sign the contract. This place is so crazy. But anyway, she didn't want to do it. The church tried to make her mother make her do it. She didn't want to do it. They said, well, you have to leave if you don't sign this contract. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Because Mimi was crying telling the story. She said, you have to do it or you have to leave. And not only do you have to leave today by 7. She's 13 years old. 13. She said, well, then, I'm going to leave. She said she kept thinking her mother was going to come after her. Her mother let her leave without a place to go at the age of 13. Ugh. I mean, wow. And so anyway, she asked a friend if she could spend the night, and she stayed there for a while. And then when it was time to go back to school, she went back to school. She went back to the school because she didn't know where else to go and what else to do. And then she would ask a friend each night if she could spend the night. Ugh. You're a baby at 13. I mean, when she's telling the story, I am crying like I know her. I mean, I'm crying. It's just terrifying. Anyway, so she ends up making her way in this world, and she got a call from her mother at 27, and she was really excited because I feel like at the end of the day, you might have a family member, a mother, a father, a sister, brother, whatever, that are emotionally incapable of things. And you have to accept it. But deep down inside, you will always love that loved one because that's your blood. It's just there. And it takes a while for you to say, if there's a chance for this person to get better, you're always going to hope for that chance. And that's what she did. She let her mother come back, and they had dinner and a good time. She said they drink wine. Well, fast forward, the next day the mother called and said, because Mimi's roommate was there who was gay, and she said she's not pleased with this lifestyle. And Mimi gave her a piece of her mind, which she's supposed to. Like, who the hell are you? Like, please, you abandoned her. As a child, you have no say in what she does. You should just be glad she let you come over. Okay, so I got upset because, these parents that just turn their children over to Scientology. What is wrong with you? I mean, it's just an emotionally dead person. You have to be so empty on the inside to let your children suffer this abuse, mental and sometimes physical abuse. That's what it is. Oh my God, it was so sad because I can't imagine being 13 someone telling you to hit the road. Oh, I can hardly do this review. It's so sad. So after that, a couple years later, Mimi's mother got, I believe she said pancreatic cancer. She got cancer, and she went down to be with her in her last days, and she said there was a Scientologist in the room at all times. But at the very end, Mimi's mother read her a poem, and it was about an apology, and she felt that was her mother saying sorry for what she did. I mean, I can't even believe Mimi went down to see her in her final days. But you know what? When you know better, how does Oprah say you do better? So I guess at the end of the day, she has to know something's wrong with my mom up here. Like, who does that? It didn't take away her pain, but you know, you have to move forward in life. But you know, I'm glad Mimi's telling her story and everyone else. This church has to be stopped. I mean, they are devastating people's lives and just breaking up families. Then there was another person that told her story. This woman's name was Christy Gordon, and I don't know what it is about Christy. My heart bled for her, and I just felt, oh my God, it was equally as sad. It was just crazy. So Christy's mother brought them into this, her and her sister into Scientology, and here, same story, different individual experiences, but the same story. The minute you get into there, what they're going to do is they're going to divide the kids. They're going to separate the kids from the parents. I have to take a break. I'm going to cry. I'll be right back. Now, in my opinion, Christy's story was a little bit worse than Mimi's, if there's a such thing, because when she got separated, her and her sister were being molested. This is just, and now Christy's mother got into Scientology because she was supposedly suffering from postpartum depression, and her sister came over, started talking to her about Scientology, and this is what brought her out of it, according to her way of thinking. You know, I don't think Scientology really cures postpartum. That's like a chemical thing that's going on in your body, but she thought that it helped. So they joined up and they split up the family. Now let's get back to the molestation. So they told their mom about the molestation, and she kind of didn't do anything about it. Then they told their grandmother, and they weren't put around the perpetrator anymore, but they were still in Scientology. And being in Scientology, you are taught that if something bad happens to you, it's your fault. Can you imagine? Being molested, that's something out of your control, or something that happened to you by very sick people, but you're being taught that this is your fault. I could not watch this episode without crying. It was, oh gosh, it was just heartbreaking. So this school that they were sent off to, I think she called it the cadet org. They have all these weird names, but you know, more manual labor. She's not the first person to say that. There was a lot of people that are talking about how they work you to death. They work you to death. And so she was another victim of being overworked and being separated from her mother. She said the labor was so bad they would work 12 hours a day and that they didn't get any schooling. Oh my gosh. Oh, those poor, wow. But anyway, so, but her mother ended up getting kicked out because she started taking a hallucinant drug called LSD. She got kicked out for taking LSD. And so somehow they get back qualified to get back into the Scientology. I guess what Mike was saying, that if you don't admit to LSD, just don't say it was LSD, they'll let you back in. So they're back in. This time they get shipped to a place called the Sea Org organization, but different place, same mentality. Work, work, work. You know, it's no child should grow up like that, none whatsoever. But the weird thing with them is their mom got kicked out again. Okay, same thing. But this time, Christy and her sister were somehow qualified to stay. So the mom gets kicked out, but they remain in that hellhole. That's what I call it. It's a hellhole. I mean, a mental concentration camp. So when that mom left for a second time and they remained there, things got worse for them. You know, they didn't like it there. They missed their mother. You know, if they told someone they would miss their mom, they would be punished. Or, no, she said they told someone they didn't like it there. That's what she said. And then they were punished. And it just kept going on and on and on. Till one day, Christy said she could not take it anymore. She had got to her breaking point and she didn't care what happened to her, and she left. She had reached out to a friend. The friend brought her to LA, and it was like a little support system because there were other people there, ex-Scientologists, that were going through the same thing that she was going through. So, you know, I was glad to hear that she left. I mean, she could have remained there to this very day. So even though it was scary, she went out on her own and got away from that, but her mother never did. And so Leah explained what makes it so easy for these parents to disconnect with their children is because they teach you in Scientology that you have multiple lives. So if it doesn't work out in this one, you'll make it up in the next life. It's absolutely insane. The mother, Chrissy's mother, never left Scientology mentally, okay? But she ended up showing on Christy's doorstep. I think she said years later. Years later she did. She said she had looked homeless. She took her in. You know, it's still her mother at the end of the day. She's still her mother. And they ended up getting her committed, to make a long story short, to a mental place because she was having violent outbursts. And this was a no-no in the Scientology community because they don't believe in that psychiatry. Anyway, to make a long story short, the mother remained there and was very upset with them. But it probably was the best thing for her, I'm thinking, in my opinion, because it was too much to handle her around. She still had her Scientology ways. And then she was also experiencing, in my opinion, mental illness. And, you know, it was just a heartbreaking story. But what made me like this episode so much is that these two women, I'm talking about Mimi and Christy, and hell, even Leah, the strength of these people when they realize, I have to get out this cult. It's a brave thing to do. It's a scary thing to do. But it's a necessary thing to do. It's almost like you have to save yourself. And then you go back and you save others by telling your story. And Christy even had like a support group that she helps out with. So, you know, these are really brave stories. It really is. And it's just, you know, Scientology, I can't believe, even at the beginning of these docuseries, I had to make sure it was a cult. I'm like, I want to make sure this is definitely a cult. And they need to do something about this. So I'm really glad that people are speaking up, telling their stories, making it easier for other people when you're ready to stop being brainwashed. That's what they are. They're being brainwashed. And it's just so sad. And, you know, I always think, the world is full of so much information now. You know, we've got the internet at the fingertips. You could find out a lot of things these days. I always wonder, there has to be people watching these stories. They have to. I'm talking like Kirstie Alley, Tom Cruise. They have to, right? How can do you hear these people's stories, but still call them a liar? It's just the oddest thing. Unless they're keeping these away from people. I'm not sure, who knows what the Scientologists are up to. They're sneaky, they're liars. They'll bend over backwards to keep the truth from coming to light. So I'll be there next week to hear other people's stories because this is just fascinating. I can't stop watching. So thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about this. It's riveting at best. It really is. And Leah deserves that Emmy that she won. Okay, thanks for watching. Talk to you next time. Bye.